And welcome to the Douglas Conservation Commission meeting for Monday, March 21st, 2022. Time is now 7:08. First item on the agenda is we'll take the notice of intent, Douglas Water and Sewer Department. Proposed work is located at North Street, Gilboa Street, Northeast Main Street in Douglas and Lackey Dam Road in Uxbridge, and involves the installation of new water main and sewer force mains and appurtenant structures within various public ways, North Street, Gilboa Street, Northeast Main Street in both Douglas and Uxbridge, and the removal of an existing pump station and replacement with an energy efficient unit at parcel 138-44 on Gilboa Street. And just for the record, we have two members absent, Katie Grace and Art tonight.
We have Gina and Foresta.
Okay, Gina, did you want to start from where we left off last time? We asked for a couple revisions, movement of fences.
Yep, so I was actually going to ask Michelle to take it.
Okay.
She can run through the changes.
And I think Michelle dropped off a revised letter. I put it on top of everyone's folder. Some of our comments for tonight's meeting that should address this last meeting's comments.
Okay. Got it right here.
There's a continuation from the March 7th meeting, and we did have some comments that arose during that initial public hearing, as well as an email follow-up that Steve did posing another question to the project team regarding the work, how the work would be constructed on Northeast Main Street relative to installing the water main near the culvert that conducts Wellman Brook under the road. So we included a written response, the one that Steve just mentioned, submitted on Monday, March the 14th, just for the record. And it sounds like your time is limited tonight, so I'll just keep my comments very brief and let you know what we did. Now, do you want me to call up plans or anything, or just kind of walk you through the changes?
Yeah, if you wanted to share screen, or if Steve wants to pull up the plan for the public so that we can see the revisions from last meeting.
It says host is a.
One moment.
Yeah. Can you Michelle?
It's an echo.
She should have it right now.
Okay. Let's see. Different layout, and I'd rather I screen for you here. Okay. See, just to dive right in, I'll just talk about the changes to the pump station. Now, this is replacement pump station. It's an upgrade to the existing pump station on Gilboa Street. And the comments, the majority of the comments that arose during the last meeting were relative to the position of the components of the pump station replacement relative to area proximity to the river. So we made some modifications to the design, and I'll just walk you through those. The driveway has been reduced to, rather than a 13 by 35 foot dimension driveway, is now 10 by 35, so we pulled it further away from the Mumford River. It is now, we're proposing it to be paved per your recommendation and suggestion rather than the regrind asphalt. It is, we also designed a stormwater swale kind of parallel to the southern portion of the proposed driveway, and between the driveway and the river, to intercept stormwater and conduct it away from the river. Then in terms of the pump station itself, the facility, we pulled the entire the fence, the footprint, further away from the river. The closest point is now 8 feet, and it's the southeastern corner of the fence. is 8 feet to the mean annual high water line of the river, also coincident with bank. We sort of slid the components around and put some labels to show you, for example, the generator is now 15 feet away from the river, and the electrical enclosure stand has also been moved in a northward direction. So all in all the components, including the fence, the footprint, the driver, are all further away from the river than what was originally proposed. Additionally, one of the commission members just wanted clarification on what we were proposing to do post-construction between the fence and the river. And so what we're proposing, or what we're clarifying, is that existing woody vegetation will remain. No trees or shrubs will be cleared or cut for the project. And then any remaining disturbed area, just for example, what was disturbed by the sedimentation control, will be loamed and seeded in a native conservation seed mix, wildlife mix. It's a low maintenance, easy growing, native only plant mix that will be put down in that location, and in disturbed areas post-construction. I believe that was the majority of the comments for that area. Are there any questions on that, or should I move over to the Northeast Main water installation?
I think you've captured a lot of our concerns. Board, any additional comments on the work?
You've captured my concerns. I just was going to ask about the swale. I see some lines there and some grading that are along the edge of the path, but how do we know, where does it convey the water to?
Sure, let me call up a detail, and I might defer to Gina, who's the engineer on the project, to address this question, but let me call up the detail that she'll need to help speak to that.
That's the right sheet, Michelle. You just have to go over a little.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it's because I didn't have my glasses on.
Yeah, there you go.
There we go, okay.
So what we put in here along the southern edge of the parking area would be just an earth-graded swale with slopes, as shown, to divert any runoff away from the river towards the road, towards the parking lot, and then therefore into the road. We would request that the contractor, of course, works with the Conservation Commission in addition to providing a submittal on this when it gets ready to be constructed. So what we also included here was a synthetic liner to prevent some of the, to help with some of the erosion control. Certainly that's up for conversation if you want something different than that.
Okay. The synthetic liners in the bottom of the swale?
Yep,
Oh, and on the slopes.
The filter popper?
yep, across the whole, yeah. It's that kind of double line there that Michelle's kind of tracing over.
Is that something permanent, or is that just when you're seeding and seeding the
It helps to it helps to let the seeding germinate a bit easier.
So it's like that
protects
line.
everything.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, is it okay if I switch over to the Northeast Main Street work?
Yes, please.
Okay, sure. So the comment here on Northeast Main Street, so just a refresher, let me get to the right sheet here. Okay, just a refresher that the only work going on here is in the roadway. It's for the replacement installation of the water main. But a question arose about how we would be conducting the work relative to this culvert, this existing culvert that conducts Wetland Brook under Northeast Main Street. So what we did to address that is provided a detail showing where the new pipe would be relative to the existing culvert, and it will basically be underlying, it will go under the existing culvert. So here's the existing culvert. This will be the new water pipe, And Gina can explain this more, but it's to do with the reason it has to be constructed is to do with the alignment of the pipe and just maintaining grades. But that's, the work in the road is still going to be cut and cover. In terms of any BMPs or anything like that relative to the construction of the water main in this location, as Gina mentioned, that it would be more of a contractor specification. But this is a schematic of how, the detail of how it would be constructed.
Steve, did you have any comments on that method of the BMPs that they're using?
It was more about the method of how they're going to go traverse underneath. I wasn't sure if they're doing horizontal drilling or just the technique of going under the culvert pipe.
Okay.
So it probably will be open cut. We haven't designed a directional drill for this application. That's a lot more complicated of a design. It would be a submittal that the contractor would give us as to how he's going to exactly do it when he gets there. Typically, they may, excavate on either side and push the pipe through. It's not a major length of a crossing.
I was fine with that. I was just,
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure you're aware that it wasn't discussed at the first meeting, and so it's really a perennial stream, so that the water is going to be there when you hit that section of the roadway. So they have some methods in place for protecting the stream, and EMPs, that would be fine with me.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. And so just for the record, we did submit a revised set of plans. Gina stamped them. So it's a full set of plans that we resubmitted, stamped through March the 14th, just for the record, for referencing the order of conditions.
Okay.
And Mass DEP also got a copy of all the same materials as well.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Yeah, so revised through March 14th, 2022. All right, anything? Looks good? Looks good? Yes? Okay. All right, anyone in the audience have any questions or concerns regarding this hearing for the water line? Anyone online? Raise your hand, name and address. Not seeing anyone? Okay, board, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Motion made by Mike,
Second.
second by Mark. All those in favor?
Eric Harris, aye. Mike Rocco, aye.
Mark Mongemi.
Okay, Tracy Sharkey, aye. And then I'll entertain a motion to issue the order of conditions with our standard conditions.
Moved.
Motion made by Mike,
Second.
second by Eric. All those in favor?
Harris, aye. Mike Rocco, aye.
Mark Mongemi.
Tracy Sharkey, aye. Okay, you're all set. Thank you very much.
Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you guys also.
Thank you.
Thanks for the revision. Okay, Steve, you did say number 9 was continued, right?
I would continue number 9. We're still waiting. We can do April 4th, or you can do the April 25th meeting.
Let's do it April 25th. I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing for Shore Road Lot 299, parcel 7.16 to April 25th.
So moved.
Motion made by Mike,
Second.
second by Mark. All those in favor?
Eric Harris, aye. Mike Rocco, aye.
Mark Mongemi.
Tracy Sharkey, aye. Okay. Next item I'm going to take is 16.
What one did you just do?
Number 11
number 9.
Number 11 is going to take too long.
Okay.
And then the
Okay.
number 13 hopefully shouldn't take very too long.
All right. Let me get ready. So 7 p.m. RDA public meeting, request for determination of applicability, 29 Laurel Glades, installing a patio area. The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting for Kenneth Boone on March 21st, 2022 at 7 p.m. in the Municipal Center, 29 Depot Street, for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40. The proposed request for the determination of applicability work location is 29 Laurel Glades, and the applicant is requesting a determination of applicability for existing patio and permission to plant trees. Public participation will be available by attending the meeting at the Town of Douglas Municipal Center located at 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass, or pursuant to Governor Baker's June 16, 2021 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, the public may participate in this meeting via remote participation. A website for the meeting will be provided on the conservation agenda posted on the town's website, douglas-ma.gov, at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Copies of the request may be examined electronically by contacting the Conservation Commission at 508-476-4000, extension 205. One time, March 11th, 2022. So board, if you remember, it was a bit different from the original approved order. We requested them to take a better look, so they've provided the, looks like an as-built plan with proposed
Should
plan.
be in the bottom, the last, it should be in everyone's folder, should be the last piece of paper in everyone's folder with the small copy. And I'll bring it up on the screen.
Okay, thank you. And
This is
who's,
the, we had the order, we had a partial order of conditions, and they built a patio, wasn't on the original order, so the commission approved the order with the stipulation that they would file an RDA for the patio work.
and who's presenting for this? 29 Laurel Glades, name and address?
My name is Byron Andrews, Andrews Survey Engineer.
Take it away.
Okay, so if you recall at the last meeting that we attended on this subject, the determination was made to do a RDA for the patio. Patio is in the same location we showed on the the as-built plan previously. We prepared an RDA plan, which is another version of that plan, with the exception that we added 2 trees to be planted. One of them is near the patio, and the other one is in the corner of the lot near the water, opposite the patio.
So a total of 2 maple trees proposed? Or what are you proposing for planting? Especially the one right on the, I don't see it on the, tree to be planted? Okay.
Yeah, they're shown in black and white.
Okay, so what type of trees?
Initially, we proposed maples, but we're open to consideration of what the commission may request. I believe the original order condition had evergreens or another kind of evergreen tree or spruce tree. However, our feeling is that maple tree would be better shade for the water, but we're open to the commission's suggestions if they feel otherwise.
Okay, and you've already planted the maples anyway, right?
Yeah, we planted 4 maples that have been planted so far.
Okay. So board, this is essentially permission to allow that patio to remain, and in addition to the 2 additional trees. So we're deciding, this is a negative determination of applicability, that there's no impact to the resource area, and it doesn't require notice of intent violation. Any comments?
So do we think the maple trees are going to provide enough shade that we're looking for?
I don't think, unless someone can prove to me otherwise, I don't think that they're gonna provide, the top one on the corner there may. But the tree by the patio would be shading the sand, right? There's a boat ramp there. So, I don't know. I mean, that's what we did request on. We had a discussion on that. Do we want to move that patio tree to the other side? By the bank versus by the boat ramp?
I think it would be a better location for it personally. I think they're kind of lining the property line, but I think the intent should be to get something closer to the water.
Byron, would you be opposed to moving that patio tree to be planted kind of space, appropriately from the other one on the property line?
Yeah, I think that would be a good location. We could put it the way you show it now, halfway between the existing well and the boat ramp.
Yeah, even if you want to do a little bit closer. But yeah, I think X out the patio tree. Unless they want to put it there, then they can, I'm fine with having that one there too. And then just have the two kind of double up for the shade along the water.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would be fine.
So the conditions would be allowing the existing paver patio to remain along with 2 maple trees to be planted along the bank at the northwest corner.
Yeah, I would want to be more specific about the type of maple tree. I think that a red maple would be a better,
Okay.
Rather than just calling out maple.
Most
There's
likely.
so many
Yeah,
varieties.
most likely. Most likely they've got red maple there, right?
Yes. That'll do.
Brian Duff, 29 Laurel Glades. The 4 trees that we already planted were red maple, so I would not object to doing 2 more of those.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for chiming in. Yeah. Okay, Boyd. Go with those 2 conditions. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the negative RDA with the 2 conditions that the tree that is proposed for next to the patio be either moved or another tree added in the area next to the bank between the existing well and the dock. Is that what you said, Byron?
Proposed tree to be planted.
That's the boat ramp.
Yeah, proposed boat ramp.
Oh. You want to put it there?
Between the boat ramp and the well?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
where your
Okay.
where your
All right.
cursor was.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Sorry.
That's all right.
I thought it was
And what was the second condition?
that the existing patio shall remain, can remain as
Oh,
is.
and that the existing
Yeah.
patio can remain.
Yeah. Motion made for the negative by Mark,
Sorry.
second by Mike. All those in favor?
Eric Harris, aye.
Mike?
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mongemai.
Tracy Sharkey, aye. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
taking care of that. Have a good night.
Number 12 has been continued to April 4th.
So
They did not advertise.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say I need to read the ad. Okay, so they need to make sure it says April 4th.
Yes.
Okay. And then 13?
Yep, they were in front of the commission about 6 weeks ago about amending their plan. I'm waiting for the legal ad. I don't know if the engineer is here. Tim, did you get a hold of the engineer, see if he had a copy of the legal ad?
Yeah, I reached out to him, but I haven't heard back from him yet.
Okay. Just give me a second.
I'm the engineer for that project. Let me, if you give me one moment here, I'll see if I can find the legal ad for that.
So there was a little snafu. They were supposed to amend the plan. As recommended by the commission, they actually sent a new NOI to the state. DEP reviewed it. Their plan, they had 97,000 square feet of riverfront area, and their plan added. If you amend the plan, you can't add to the amount of disturbance, and so they inadvertently were adding to it. So this revised plan is actually going to make it so comply with the DEP policy and be able to amend the plan because it's going to be less disturbance. I'm just waiting on the legal ad from them. So
I'm just opening, I think, of the legal, yeah, I've got the legal ad right here. It's on my screen if you'd like.
What's the date on
you want
it?
me to share the screen?
No, that's
Date on
okay.
it?
Yeah, what's the date that it was published, that it appeared?
3/11/22.
I also put a copy on anyone's folder. It wasn't inside of it, but it, as it came in today, a copy of the plan. Byron, you want to share your screen so you can put it on the screen?
I don't know if we're able to read it, and I'm trying to find it in my public notices, and
Yeah, I can find it.
I'm not finding it. Did you get a receipt from them, or do you have it published? That is the, oh. Proof of publication? Because it's, Mark, can you read if it says that it was published?
Published in the city of Worcester, county of Worcester, state of Massachusetts, printed, published in personal knowledge, yep. Dated 3/11/2022. People for something.
In the telegram?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
Telegram exact, yep.
All right, I'll just read it from here. Town of Douglas, Conservation Commission, 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. Legal notice for a public hearing pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. The Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold public hearing on March 21st, 2022 at 7 p.m. for an amended notice of intent filed by Timothy O'Hara in the Municipal Center, 29 Depot Street, for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw, the Wetland Protection Act, Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40. The proposed amended work, notice of intent work location is 832 Northwest Main Street, and the applicant is requesting an amended notice of intent decreasing the square footage of the proposed home and increasing the area of disturbance under the existing order conditions. Public participation will be available by attending the meeting at the Town of Douglas Municipal Center located at 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. Pursuant to Governor Baker's June 16, 2021 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 38, Section 18. The public may participate in this meeting via remote participation. A website for the meeting will be provided on the conservation agenda posted on the town's website, douglas-ma.gov, at least 48 hours prior to meeting. Copies of the request for amending may be examined electronically by contacting the Conservation Commission by way of 476-4000, Section 205. Interesting that it wasn't in my public notices. All right. So Steve kind of gave us an overview. Do you want to just run down the revisions for us, please?
Sure, so the NOI was revised. The main difference between the previous one and the existing one is the house is considerably smaller.
Sorry, could you please mute yourself, Eddie Rondo? Thank you. Sorry about
The area of the house is considerably smaller. It went from 3,135 square foot footprint to 1,990 square feet. That's a reduction of 1,145 square feet of area. And that allowed us to also improve reduce the amount of riverfront area that was disturbed, decrease the percentage of riverfront area that's disturbed, and increase the setback from the wetlands to the tank, and overall improve the configuration of it in regard to the conservation issues.
Okay, thank you. So it's pretty much picked up by DP as the riverfront increase flagged, right, for comments?
Yeah, so I put on the screen the original one in purple, what was approved for the house location, and they want to put in blue
Okay,
their proposed plan.
yep,
The issue was, I was fighting by DEP, this grading that they had 97,000 square feet of riverfront area, you can only disturb 10%. But if you go for amended, the original amount of the amended riverfront area on the plan with the approved NOI is, I think it's 7,500. So you have to go less than what was on the original approved plan.
I gotcha, yeah.
And
If you're gonna go
in order to be amended.
Yep,
So they came back and they filed a new plan. So I'll bring that up right now. Which brings it under the original amount that was disturbed.
okay. And then we'll just double check, make sure that when we have the order, the amended, it has all the correct, the actual calculations.
Yes, the only thing I think the new engineers mislabeled the riverfront area. He put 75,000. I think it's not in the original one, Brian, on the order of conditions, it's roughly 97,000. He cut himself short on that.
So is the riverfront area disturbance noted on this plan?
It is, but he's got the wrong calculations. He's got the amount, let me see if it zooms in. So he's got 7,510 square feet of disturbance, which is less than what was originally approved. So it checks that box. Where his calculation is missed is that he put 78,708 square feet of total riverfront disturbance. The original order had 97,000. So if he puts the 97,000 from the original, he'd be under 7%, and he'd be under his original approved, which would satisfy DEP. I talked to DEP this Saturday. It says if he stays on the original amount of 7,800, he should be good with the amended order.
Okay. So what is the number for the requested riverfront area disturbance total?
75,00010 square feet.
7,000.
Yeah, 7,000.
7,500.
Yeah, okay. I kept saying 97,000. Okay. So, board, do we have any questions or concerns regarding this? Or we've got a decrease in impacts?
No.
Just have to get the numbers right.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Anyone in the audience have any questions or concerns regarding this filing for 832 Northwest Main? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Motion made by Mike. Second by Eric. All those in favor?
Eric Harris, aye.
Mark Mungem, aye.
Tracy Sharkey, aye. I'll entertain a motion to issue the amended order of conditions with the decrease in the total riverfront area impacts.
So moved.
Motion made by Mark,
Second.
second by Eric. All those in favor?
Eric Harris, aye.
Mike Greco, aye.
Mark Mangum, aye.
Sharkey, aye. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you guys, appreciate it. And thank you, Steve, for all your help during this, I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Tim. Call me anytime.
Okay, the next three, don't have. Steve, do you want to do number 14?
They continue to April 4th. The legal ad didn't get in time.
Okay. Number 15, notice of intent, 0 Mumford Road and 5 Forest Street definitive subdivision plan, Sutton Douglas Development LLC. Do we have the legal notice?
Should be in your folder. Your mail folder.
I have one. That's all I've got. Oh, what's this? Nope.
Not your folder.
Yeah, I only had two pieces of paper in the mail, I think.
Want me to bring one down?
No, I think I probably have it. Hold on. It's the ball one. Okay. Public hearing notice. Oh wait, this is the second. Yeah, if you could bring me one, Steve, that would be great. Please.
How you doing, Mark? Been a long time.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Got a lot going on.
Yeah, how about for you?
It's insane. It's insane. I think the last time we talked,
Was it?
yeah,
Probably so.
yeah. Back in this
I knew you had moved and you had contacted me about that, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Started back in, right before COVID. We made it.
Yeah, survived it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Steve?
I have the CRG one. I have. No.
That was just, you guys asked me to continue a meeting, just being certain.
Oh,
You came and joined us personally.
I
It's
did.
rare.
I did.
It doesn't happen very often.
No, it doesn't.
Sorry.
I miss getting out.
that's one.
I love the public meeting.
I have.
I do. Excuse me, Steve. Shall I wait to submit this as part of the record?
You can give that to him.
Okay.
I still have the advice.
You don't?
No, just a sign and that kind of stuff.
Oh.
Pre-green cards.
Okay.
All the other ones check out.
Okay, I will get to that. Sorry about that.
Okay. All right, next hearing, Town of Douglas Conservation Commission pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on March 21st, 2022 at 7 p.m. for the notice of intent application filed by Flynn Building Development located at 0 Mumford Road and 5 Forest Street, Douglas, and 61 Duval Road, Sutton, for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and Wetland Protection Act. The proposed work involves development of a 31-lot residential subdivision on 5,735 feet of proposed roadway with associated stormwater management system. All work in the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction is buffer zone only, and no wetland alteration is proposed. Public participation will be available by attending the meeting at the Town of Douglas Municipal Center located at 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. Pursuant to Governor Baker's June 16, 2021 order suspending certain provisions of Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18. The public may participate in this meeting via remote participation. A website for the meeting will be provided on the conservation agenda posted on the town's website, douglas-ma.gov, at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Copies may be examined electronically by contacting the Conservation Commission at 508-476-4000, extension 205, March 11th, 2022. Mr. Sullivan. Echoing. So, name and address for the record.
Hello, Madam Chair, Wayne Bellick, Land Design Collaborative. here on behalf of Sutton Douglas Development. We're joined by Tim Flynn tonight, who's participating remotely. And if I could, I noticed that Steve has an exhibit up here. I would like to, if we could, I sent Steve some information today, a PowerPoint slide presentation.
Yep.
And I would like to just have that up because we can follow that.
Yeah,
I think.
let me grab those while you talk. Hang on.
All right, thank you, Steve. And Tim has also volunteered to play my Vanna White tonight.
Okay, great.
He has seen me present and try to work a mouse.
Madam Chair, members of the board, thanks for your time tonight. My name is Tim Flynn. I'm the owner of Flynn Building Development. My sincerest apologies for not being able to be in person tonight. In the future, I will be for sure. So thank you.
Thank you.
Steve, let me know I have the presentation up and ready to present if needed.
Just 1 minute. I got it ready.
Sure.
It almost sounds like an Apollo mission back in the 60s.
Roger, Houston.
Yeah? For those of us that remember or were around.
Did you get a DEP number yet?
We have yet to receive that.
Did you try and call him?
I did. I know that Kimberly Roth is reviewing it.
Okay.
They're usually pretty good for that. They do request them and usually pretty good. But not sure what's going on.
It's crazy.
It's okay, I got it right here.
Town of Douglas got
Yeah.
theirs before you.
I'm sorry?
Town of Douglas got theirs.
That's what I understand.
And you must file that.
It was a nightmare with the advertising with the T&G. That was a train wreck.
Wait, can you see that, Ryan?
I could see it.
Okay.
Okay, Madam Chair. Again, Wayne Bellick, Land Design Collaborative. Here on behalf of Sutton Douglas Development and Tim Flynn. If I could ask you, Steve, to scroll to the next slide. So again, the project owner is Sutton Douglas Development. The applicant developer is Flynn Build and Develop. We're Land Design Collaborative. Land surveyor was Feldman Geospatial. The wetland scientist was Northeast Ecological. And the hydrogeologist on the project is Corporate Environmental Advisors. Thank you. So, first thing I wanted to do, Madam Chair, was kind of get you up to speed with where we've been with respect to the hearings. So we opened, or tried to open with the Douglas Concom on March 7th. As you know, there was a hearing agenda, but again, due to a T&G faux pas, we couldn't hold a public hearing. We then, on March 10th, met with the Douglas Planning Board, opened the public hearing, presented, and the hearing was continued to the 14th. On the 14th, Sutton Planning Board, well, on April 14th, on March 14th, Sutton Planning Board opened the public hearing. We presented there as well, and that is continued to April 11th. And the project presentation, of course, is going to be by LDC, and then we'll get into the question and answer period. Next. Project permitting history. So this commission will recall back in May of 2021, the resource areas that were delineated by Northeast Ecological Services was confirmed by this commission. We received preliminary plan approval by the Sutton Planning Board.
Sorry, can you please mute yourself? One with the picture. Courtney, sorry. Thank you.
If you could return back to that previous screen, thank you. So the preliminary plan approval by Suffolk Planning Board in August 2021, and the preliminary plan approval here in the town of Douglas was November 2021. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the property limits, as we can see here, are highlighted in yellow. There's a red line for orientation. North is straight up the sheet. And there's a red line that goes basically southwest to northeast. That represents the town line between the towns of Sutton and Douglas. The property is comprised of 130 acres, as you can see with the yellow highlight around the entire property perimeter. Duval Road in Sutton is number 61 Duval Road, which is at the north end of the site. There's a 20-foot strip that also comes out to Duval Road over to the northeast of that site. The property extends out to Mumford Road, over to the east, and then over to the west, it extends out to Forest Street. Down to the south, there are some residential properties, and to the southwest, it connects to Conservation Drive. If you could advance the next slide, please. So this exhibit represents the existing conditions plan, a blow-up of that area. What you see in here in the lighter green is the wetland delineation and the wetland system that was confirmed by this commission last year. As you can see, to the north of the site at 61 Duval Road, there's an existing home with access to Duval Road. To the west, to the southwest is 5 Forest Street that also has an existing home on it. Those are the only two portions of the property that are currently developed with residences. The site is, again, 130 acres, generally wooded, as you can see, and topography on site starts at a high on the westerly side of the site and descends at various grades down to a wetland system, as you can see through the center of the site. There is a ditch, as you can, it's hard to see, but there is a ditch that goes, there it is, thank you, Steve, that goes from north to south or south to north. And that eventually flows into a 36-inch corrugated metal pipe culvert under Duval Road. Now, I bring this up because of the runoff that comes onto our property. So, as you folks are familiar with, the Forest Street development was developed by others way back when, and as we did our due diligence out in the field, as we started collecting data and confirming what the maps had told us in terms of topography and delineating the limits of the watershed, what we observed out there was that the stormwater runoff from that subdivision is totally unmitigated and flows onto the property. What it does is it flows across the property for the most part and discharges or is collected by that channel that goes from south to north and then goes to Duval Road. Anything from the west or the east of that channel pretty much flows into the Mumford River down to Mumford Road. The soils on site are primarily hydrologic soil group C. There are some B soils, no A soils, and the D soils are located in the wetland system. We had done some soil testing out at this site, did find some inconsistencies and found that the soils were actually a little bit more conducive than what the soils call for on the hydrogeo maps. If you could advance, please. There you go. Thank you. So the existing hydrology, now I know this is hard to see, but basically what these lines represent are the sub-watershed areas tributary to the area. As I said, what you'll see running from south to north is that channel, and if you look closely, you can see how everything breaks up into various watersheds based on the topography. As we looked at this, knowing that, there are concerns from downstream abutters, I certainly would have concerns with any development up gradient of me. What we had done is we had looked at the flows and analyzed them as they came across the property line. So basically what we have are individual flows at the property line that end up in an aggregate down at Mumford Street for the watersheds to the east. But the watersheds that are within the development, again, all flow through to Duval Road, a portion of which flows through 61 Duval, and the balance flows through a 12-inch culvert and the 36-inch culvert. Next slide, please.
So just
Yep.
a point on when this stream is not the Mumford, it's Wetland Reservoir Brook,
Okay.
and it flows into the Mumford.
How many?
I think it's a name, but they call it the Wetland Reservoir Brook because it's derived from the Wetland Reservoir.
Okay, thank you.
And how many slides do you have with this presentation? We're missing 2 members, so if you could do like an overview.
Sure, I can do an overview.
Closest point to the buffer, closest buffer.
Sure, Madam
distance.
Chair, if you'd like, I can hit on this.
Because you're probably going to have to
Represent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next time.
What I'd like to do then, with that said, I can do a quick presentation here and then blow right to the last slide.
Okay.
Because that tells the story of the second next
Right, yeah,
slide.
yeah, thank you.
So
I
thank you.
think we're generally aware because from the overhead, so.
Yep. So this represents the subdivision, and seeing that I'm going to be making a presentation, I'll get into some of the specifics. But as you can see, we're proposing a network of roads. The first one being about 2,700 feet long, goes to the end. It's a cul-de-sac with another road coming off of that, Road D, which comes up to Forest Street. Off the main road, Road A, is a loop road we're referring to as Road B, and over to the east of that is Road C. We are proposing 31 lots here, and the subject of this filing, as the Commission is aware, is specifically for the subdivision road and the infrastructure being the stormwater associated therewith. So these lots are going to be served by private septic systems and wells. We designed the stormwater management system in accordance with the state water stormwater regulations. So basically, we're looking at a system that is routed through deep sump to catch basins, stormwater treatment units, and then eventually discharge into stormwater management infiltration detention basins. As part of that, we have also provided for some swales up gradient of the site to intercept that water that was coming through the property as from the unmitigated development up above, as we didn't want to cause a drastic enlargement to these stormwater basins, so we sent it to that channel where it goes currently. So that would, in brief, that's the development. And if we could scroll to that second to last slide, I think that kind of tells the story about this right here, Steve. I know that you had requested a slide that showed in red the stormwater management system. And so it shows all the pipes, it's all color-coded as required by the Commission. You can see there are some buffer zones on the site. There is some riverfront area. We're not doing any work in that. And, relatively speaking, very little work in the riverfront area.
So one of my comments from my checklist was, I think I submitted last meeting, was that, the NOI should clearly state that it's for the road only and the infrastructure.
Okay.
Right? Any house, any dwelling that is constructed after these, notice of intent for subdivision will have to file a separate notice of intent.
Correct.
Yeah, limiting. And then this has gone for peer review already.
That's correct.
So as far as our board is concerned, it's being vetted for the stormwater already. So that's taken care of. So where's the closest point to the resource on here? Where is what?
Well, if I could go to that last slide, it probably might have. If you're asking me to remember, I'm an old man here, Madam Chair.
Okay, all right.
So the prior slide, I'm sorry, Steve. So, no, the next one? Back the other way? One more? Yep. One more? Oh, I think we're going the wrong direction. Go second slide from the end, Steve, please. Giddy up.
That's it, right there.
There you go. So this might be able to answer the questions, Madam Chair. So what I've got is, so as I said, there was a wetland confirmed by this commission last year. The commission recalls, because of the amount of wetlands on the site, we decided to confirm the wetlands on the development side of the site, seeing that there was no activity being proposed on the other side. So with that said, looking at the 100-foot buffer zone, we've got about 40 acres of buffer zone on the development side of the site. Within that 25-foot no disturb zone, we're altering nothing. We're honoring that. The 50-foot no structure zone, we've got 0.004 acres, so that's very small. And that's just sidewalk. And that's sidewalk at the end of Road B. So, and then between the 50 and the 100-foot buffer, we've got about 2.4 acres, with 1/10 of an acre being attributed to the sidewalk and the road. So 2.3 of those acres are basically off-grading and the roadway work associated with the roadways. So with the 100-foot buffer zone in total, we have about 2.8 acres. The percentage of alteration of buffer zone with respect to what was confirmed by the Conservation Commission is 0.07%, less than 1/10 of 1%. And then in terms of the other resource areas bordering vegetated wetland, no alteration, bank, no alteration, riverfront, no alterations in the submittal.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
But if you could just clarify that this is just the roadway, so when there's houses that are going to be built, they would need to come back and they may impact more buffer and wetland.
Absolutely, and I'm going to take a look at the application. I thought it was pretty clear, but maybe it was a faux pas on my end, but I thought it was for the roadway and the infrastructure.
Well, it's not, it should be, but it's just not. Usually they put road only on your description.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because it says development.
Because in this plan, just so that, we do have it in our local bylaw regulations, 4.0 self-imposed hardship may come into effect. So as you develop some of these lots where you have, you're crossing that ditch and you're crossing some wetlands, you just have to take that into consideration that, you could be creating your own hardship for some of these future developed lots.
Understood.
You may want to look at that local bylaw.
Yeah. Which section was that, Madam Chair, again?
4.06.
The regulations.
Yeah.
The Douglas wetland regulations.
Yep. Yeah, the public notice was development of a 31-lot residential subdivision on 5,735 feet of proposed roadway with associated. So it could be ambiguous on that.
Yep.
So as far as revising the application, we just need to let DEP know that it's just roadway only.
Yep.
That might be also why they're taking their time with that number. Okay, this is well, actually, board, do we have any questions for right now? Mike's already seen this. Mike, do you have any questions at the moment?
Not at the moment.
This is a public hearing. Anyone in the audience have any questions or concerns on the 0 Mumford Road, 5 Forest Street?
Madam Chair?
Yes?
Mike Lacey, 18 Forest Street.
Yes.
My concern is not necessarily with the Conservation Committee in your jurisdiction, but my concern to the builder is what plans he has or provisions he's made for the Forest Street, which is going to have a lot of traffic from construction equipment, not from the normal traffic of cars, but for the first year or two, there's going to be an awful lot of heavy equipment possibly going up Forest Street because of the layout of the project itself. And I think it would be ideal if the developers produced a bond to, say, control any damage done to Forest Street, because it's a 40-year-old road. It's not in good shape now.
So we have a planning board meeting on Thursday. Their traffic engineer will be there. It was touched upon at the last planning board meeting. So they are aware of that concern, and that should be addressed. But if you have anything regarding the runoff or stormwater or the impacts to the resource areas for conservation, that would be for tonight.
Okay.
But yes, that was, the concern was brought up at our last meeting. So if you wanted to schedule to go to that meeting also, I'll see you there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Henry the Duke, 100 Montford Street. The back part of my property that abuts the proposed development is part of the wetlands that feeds the Montford River, pretty much up to the boundary line. It appears that there's going to be a road somewhere around 75 feet from that property line, which is probably just outside the 100-foot buffer zone. But my concern is water runoff down the hill, because it's all uphill to the back of my property.
Okay. Do you know what page that one is?
So, Madam Chair, what the gentleman's referring to is not a road, it's actually a common drive that we're proposing for future development. As stated earlier by you and Mr. Zisk, and we're fully aware of that, there are a number of filings that will be coming before this Conservation Commission subsequent to the issuance of the order of conditions for the subdivision road and the infrastructure. There will be filings made for individual lots. The lot in question, I believe, is either lots 22 or 23, and it's for the common driveway that loops around to the back of that lot. That's correct. So again, that would be covered under another filing with the Conservation Commission and wouldn't be subject to this discussion.
Have you seen that section close up?
I'm sorry?
Have you seen that plan close up? Do you have a copy of the plan?
I had a copy of print C110, I believe.
Okay. Existing condition?
And
Yeah, so that would be an additional filing for those two lots. C110 is not going to probably show you. Oh yeah, 23.
Yeah.
But we don't have any resource area, like we don't have the buffer zone on that page. So I think, Steve, could we get him a, oh, there you go.
Wayne, did you want to keep these out, business?
Sure. Thank you.
206, can you print him a page? Or no? Can you email?
206?
Yeah, the abutter. 206.
Excuse me, did you want me to hand this?
Yeah, whoever wants it, I'll let you do it.
Okay, thank you.
If you send me an email, I can send it to you.
Do you have an email address?
I'll give you my card.
Email?
I'll give you my card.
Madam Chair, these are cards for SuttonDouglasResidential.com, Flynn Build and Develop.
Okay,
So if the folks have any questions or would like to visit the website and post some questions as well, I can leave those right here.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So we'll get you a copy of the plan, sir, and then you can kind of see close up, and that will be subject to an additional filing anyway, so you'll be able to see where the water's flowing. Nothing is being built there at that time until it gets approval through this board. So it will be looked at a little bit closer versus the activity that they are getting approved right now is just for the roadway work, not for the common drive, which I can see that there is something shown on there too, a proposed common drive.
If I could add to that, Madam Chair, I do appreciate your explanation. As part of that process, as the commission knows, because we are developing more than 4 lots, they are also required to mitigate stormwater runoff on an individual lot basis. Unlike a typical A&R plan, where let's say you have 2 lots, if there's not a local wetland or stormwater bylaw in place, with the state stormwater regulations, they're required to mitigate because there are more than 4 lots, so that would be addressed at that time as well.
Okay, so in
addition
to any buffer zone impacts, it would be a full stormwater as well. Okay, anyone online have any questions or concerns regarding this hearing?
There's a hand up at the top.
Okay,
I have a couple of people have their hands up.
yeah, thank you. Stephanie, would you like to go first? Name and address for the record?
Yes, Stephanie Cavino. I am in Worcester, but my boyfriend is in a butter at 24 Mumford Road. My questions are a couple of things. One is regarding stormwater. I know that you said this is going out for third-party review, and I'm just wondering what design storms you used when you were doing that. So did you use TP40 or no Atlas 14?
Yes, I appreciate the question.
Please mute yourself if you're speaking. Someone is speaking right now, so.
So I was just wondering what design storms you used for that?
That was with, through the chair, 210 and 100, as required by the state stormwater regulations.
In terms of the design storm itself, so there's older data that's TP40 that looks at a specific group of storms from the 1890s and 1950s. We know it's outdated and it doesn't account for a very long history. Some newer data, I know EP has not made this change yet, but they do anticipate change requirements in order to use NOAA Atlas 14, which uses a larger history of data from the 1800s through 2014. It still doesn't account for larger precipitation events due to climate change into the future, but it is a little bit more representative to ensure that our infrastructure is actually going to last and be able to handle these storms. So I'm not sure which of those data sets you used.
It was the NOAA information? That's correct. So it's the most recent published information from which the analyses were performed. And that, again, is going to be peer-reviewed by your peer-review consultant.
Is the stormwater report published on the development website?
Yep.
Could you, so they have a website with all the information on it. Could you say that one more time?
So you can reach out to www.suttondouglasresidential.com, and all the documents are posted on the website. And that site is prepared by Flynn Build and Develop.
Thank you. And the second part of my question is, can you clarify, I'm not familiar with how it works in order to create a stormwater report for only the roadways versus having a second stormwater report for the house lots?
Sure, that's easy. Yep. So basically, when we looked at the entire site, and this is through the chair as well, looking at the site, we looked at the site with existing conditions, then we looked at the site full built, including the development of the lots. I mean, that's how you get your true analysis in terms of size of the basins and the street's drainage system. So with respect to the individual lots, there would be, for instance, collecting rooftop runoff, routing them through infiltration, Coltech chambers, and the like. So that's what we mean when we're talking about the individual lots and the runoff associated therewith.
Okay, thank Thank you. So it sounds like when you do the stormwater report, you look at existing conditions as pre-development entirely and post-conditions as the entire development full build of housing and infrastructure.
That's correct. Yep.
Right, and for clarity, so and if one of those houses happens to be within the buffer zone, even though it was part of the design for subdivision notice of intent, that individual lot, if it's in the buffer zone, has to file individually at some point.
Correct.
And you will have an opportunity for follow-up at the next meeting. This is not going to be closed or anything like that, so you could review that information on our website.
Thank you. And lastly, I had a question about the crossing that's proposed, and I'm happy to review that information first. Just thinking about not only mass stream crossing standards and how it may meet those regulations, but also considering the project phasing and appropriate erosion controls in during construction, just as the previous abutter was noting, that there isn't any impact to that resource area. I don't know how wide you're proposing it, but putting in a culvert and having trucks coming in and out in order to build those house lots during construction may be time when there may be most impact. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So through the chair, that's, as part of that, is once we get into that, any stream crossing, we would meet those stream crossing standards. We're required to.
So Ryan, just for clarity, these lots 22, 23, the ones I have on the screen here with the crossing the trench, that crossing is not part of this notice of intent.
That's correct. That's correct. This is purely for illustrative purposes, nothing more.
But these houses are part of your stormwater calculations for the NOI.
That is correct.
Right, but when it comes, if the road only gets approved and you build 35 out of these houses, when you get to this section, this has to be a separate notice of intent, and all the abutters within a certain distance has to be notified for this project.
That's correct. That is the plan.
And then you have and then get back to the lady's comments that the open ratio, stormwater regulations, all that will have to take into consideration.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay, Diane? Name and address, please. Diane? Diane?
Hi, yeah, Diane David, 49 Duval Road. So I'm actually in Sutton, but I'm under butter. I just had a quick question for communications. Because for this meeting, we got a notice for the original meeting on March 7th. It was postmarked March 4th. So the letter actually, we only had like not even one business day. For the future, can we be notified ahead of time for these meetings?
That's why we didn't open the hearing. So the last hearing was not opened because there wasn't sufficient notice in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act. So yes, you will be notified in accordance with that. This would be the only one.
Does the Telegram and Gazette mail out the notices?
No, the applicant does.
If I could explain that, Madam Chair?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair. So basically what had happened there is when we approached the assessors departments in the respective towns, they can't notify abutters in another town because they don't have that record information. So that's what we're told by both the towns. And it was through Steve Zisk when he requested about the abutters in Sutton. We initially looked to run the drainage down Duval Road. At that point, we would have received an abutters list for the Sutton residents. So, and that was the mad dash scramble. And that coupled with the failure of the TNG to publish that notification is what's got us here tonight rather than on the 7th.
And on your website, are the meetings posted?
If they're not, I'm sure Tim will post them.
Okay. Tim,
If you could, Tim?
do that, please?
Through the chair, yes, they are posted.
Oh, okay. All right. So Diane, if you wanted to check out that website, SuttonDouglasResidential.com, you can find all the information up to date on there also.
Thank you. I also think it would be of use, just because there seems to be a diverse population around this area where some people, I know most of us are on the internet, but I do have some elderly neighbors who, they're not very computer savvy. So I still think snail mail is also a useful tool. But thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And Lucille Prince?
Yes, hi, Lucille and Gary Prince. We live at 1 Forest Street in Douglas. I just have some general questions about the road that's being put to the side of my house, our house. Are there going to be any plantings of trees or any vegetative barrier or of any sort that's going to abut that road? Because I mean, there are trees, there are some oaks and stuff right there right now, but not all that much. And I'm just wondering, if that's something that's part of the plan, or if it's just going to stay the way it is right now.
Madam Chair, can I address that? Yep. So while the question is appreciated, that question really wouldn't be germane to tonight's meeting. This is conservation. And that's more of a question that could be asked before the planning board, but I will answer the question if it's okay with the chair.
Thank you.
With that, we are proposing some street trees along the side of the road wherever we can. And in that particular area, those trees that are shown there will remain and will not be removed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's all the hands. Board, we need to continue. I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing to, are you going to be ready for April 4th?
April 4th.
So you have...
That's 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, March 24th.
Sure. I guess it ultimately comes down to where things stand with the peer review, but yeah, we'll be available for April 4th.
So I'll entertain a motion to continue this hearing to April 4th.
Excuse me, Madam Chair.
Yes?
I had my hand raised, except it was waving. This is Susan Foley in Preservation Park.
Oh, okay.
On Conservation Drive.
Okay.
If I may.
Yeah. One question is good. Thank you.
Has the commission walked any of this acreage?
During the ANRAD application filing, multiple commissioners walked it, as well as our peer review, our Alan from Ecotech. So as far as the resource areas, those are set in stone at this moment with that ORAD issuance.
Okay, I don't know what that means, but my next question is...
Order of resource area delineation. That was already granted through this board. That confirms the wetland boundaries.
Okay, and the wetland boundaries on the map that I'm seeing is delineated by which color line?
Through the chair, that would be the darker green line.
Lime green.
Okay.
I'm sorry, lime green.
And one last comment. I own a small piece of the what I call the canal, but the dug channel, and there's significant erosion over the last few years, and all I can describe it as is it's across the bank from the marker that says B22 on it. Whether or not I own that little bit of erosion, it may be off by a foot or two.
Is that off of Conservation Drive?
So I'm Foley and Prentice, Steve.
So right here, okay.
Yeah, it's I can see the dug channel marked to the right of your cursor, right there. There's a marker there that NES put up for, it says bank B22, and I just wanted to, my concern now is, this is obviously going to move forward, but the erosion back there is concerning to me, and it's really, you see how close it is to the proposed lots.
I can answer that if you'd like, ma'am.
Yep. The applicant's prepared to answer your question.
So, again, do appreciate the question. That sounds like an existing condition, and if you have an erosion issue out there, maybe as a result of velocities in that area, I would suggest that perhaps you contact the local DPW and have them take a look at it and see if they can shore up whatever is out there for a riprap outfall, to look to try to prevent further erosion or reduce those velocities, because it sounds like you're having some scouring issues out there.
What is scouring, may I ask?
It's basically erosion.
Okay.
You will get another opportunity to ask follow-up questions. We've just got to move on this hearing. It'll be continued to April 4th.
Okay, is anything being decided tonight that we...
No, they do not have a DEP number issued either, but it's peer reviewed right now and in planning board.
Okay, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, I'll entertain a motion to continue to April 4th at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Martin, motion made by Bark, second by Eric. All those in favor?
Eric,
Mark Monjamai.
Tracy Sharkey, aye. All right.
Thank you,
We'll see
Madam
Thursday.
Chair. Thank you, folks. Yeah, looking forward to Thursday.
Next item on the
Madam
agenda.
Chair, members of the board, thank you for your time.
Oh, you're welcome. Next item, Town of Douglas Conservation Commission, 29 Depot Street, Douglas, Mass. Legal notice for public hearing pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act. Town of Douglas Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on March 21st, 2022 at 7 p.m. for a notice of intent filed by CRG Services Management, LLC, located at 105 and 123 Gilboa Street, for work to be done pursuant to the Town of Douglas Wetland Bylaw and the Wetland Protection Act, Mass General Law 131, Section 40. The proposed work involves construction of a distribution warehouse with a footprint and gross square footage of 1,102,500 square feet. Access provided from Northeast Main Street and Gilboa Street via a bridge crossing the Mumford River. Other improvements include vehicle parking, loading docks, and trailer spaces. Portions of work are proposed within a floodplain and riverfront area. Public participation will be available by attending the meeting at the Town of Douglas Municipal Center located at 29 Depot Street and pursuant to Governor Baker's June 16, 2021 order suspending certain provisions of open meeting law. General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, the public may participate in this meeting via remote participation. A website for the meeting will be provided on conservation agenda posted on the town's website, douglasma.gov, at least 48 hours prior to the meeting. Copies of the notice of intent may be examined electronically by contacting Conservation Notice of Intent Commission at 508-476-4000, extension 205, March 14th, 2022. You're good on the date. Couple typos in there. I don't know what it is. People don't read the ads. I'm not sure. But.
I had blown one up for you too. And it just,
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, this one was good. Thank you.
The copy they sent me, I couldn't read even.
Teeny tiny, yeah.
It was
Teeny
ridiculous.
tiny. Thank you for waiting.
No problem. Madam Chair, members of the commission, Todd Morey from Beals Associates. I will proceed through this quickly. I've gotten the
I may need to step out for a second to make a phone call.
Yep.
So
I'll try to get through this quick, and I do have a presentation prepared. If I could share my screen, that would be terrific.
Okay, sure.
I think somebody's got to either just give me permission to do that.
Yep.
Share that screen sharing.
Yep. Getting there. Full screen. Laser pointer. All right. So, as noted, I'm here on behalf of CRG Real Estate Solutions. Frank Pecunis and Fred Ferraro typically attend these meetings with me. They were at the planning board meeting We were at a couple weeks ago, and they'll be here, I believe, on Thursday as well. Again, my name's Todd Morey. We're the civil engineers and entitlement managers for these projects that we do with CRG. The project itself is located just off of Gilboa Street, right on the Uxbridge-Douglas town line, kind of pointing at the town line right there. It's primarily located within the existing gravel pit, just to the east of the solar facility here. We were before you, I believe it was late fall, early winter, to present an ANRAD application that was subsequently approved. You folks issued an ORAD after Mr. Allen had reviewed it, done some peer review work on that. And basically what we came up with was the Mumford River flows into the end here, forms Gilboa Pond, which is really kind of held back by an existing dam. Water flows over that dam, and the Mumford River then kind of meanders its way on out. And then we had some associated bordering vegetated wetlands right next to Gilboa Pond, and some areas of the 100-year floodplain. A little bit closer up version of this, just the project in general. We have 5 parcels totaling about 112 acres. We do have frontage on both Gilboa Street as well as Northeast Main Street, and that's important to note when we start talking about some of the alternatives analysis that we looked at. That next bullet is now incorrect. The final portion of the final configuration of the Gilboa Street property has been determined. The town is keeping Gilboa Pond, as well as some other land directly around it. There is currently a gas easement that runs right down through here. The split in the trees that you can see. A formal electrical easement runs through here. Outside of the gravel pit itself, in the wooded area, it's generally rolling topography, no consistent trends, a lot of low areas. Depending on what time of year you go out there, especially up on the Uxbridge site, there may be quite a few low-lying areas, isolated land subject to flooding. In Uxbridge, I think it would be an isolated wetland if it were here in Douglas. Soils generally across the site, very, very good sands and gravels, obviously, given the current use of that. And then we mentioned the natural resource areas that we found. This is really just a copy of the ANRAD plan that you folks approved. Again, we have Mumford River coming in to Gilboa Pond, which is this green area here, and then flowing over the dam, Mumford River coming out. This light blue shade denotes the 200-foot riverfront area within Douglas. So what are we proposing to do? So our proposed site plan is about 1.1 million square feet of building space located, the majority of which is located right in that gravel pit. We have a lot of stormwater management, both underground and surficial stormwater management, approximately 651 parking spaces across the site. For the most part, and you can see this shade of green here is really where our off-grading occurs. And you can see these series of dotted lines. These are your no disturb and your other buffers here in Douglas. For the most part, we're staying outside of the 100-foot buffer zones along there. The two main reasons that we're here to discuss things with you this evening is we do have impact into the riverfront area, and we do have a minor area right in this location, which I'll show a little bit with some more clarity shortly, of impact into the 100-year floodplain. And of course, the riverfront disturbances right here. Stormwater management, I'll go through again, I'll try to zip through these fairly quickly. The bright green that you see up here on your screen is really a series of catch basins and manholes that lead to some of these underground infiltration facilities. Again, in this gravel pit, some incredible infiltration opportunities. It is just pure sand and gravel right down to the water table. This end of the site here, generally, we're cutting about 30 feet in elevation, and this end of the site here, we're actually filling about 30 feet in elevation. These systems that we're proposing underneath this truck loading apron are actually concrete chambers. They're about 15 feet tall inside. They are very deep. However, given the fact that we're filling on that end of the site, very simple construction. As we start to bring those fills up, we drop those chambers in and continue to fill right up around it. Just some of the features of the stormwater management. On the left side of this screen is, the things that you probably always see whenever you look at a stormwater management, pre versus post. We look at both rate and volume. My contention to my junior engineer is that volumes are just as important as rates. So we try to control both the rates and the volumes. As you can see here in these tables, with one exception, we've done that for the 2 10 and 100-year storms. Following up on a question that was asked at the last one, those numbers that we modeled that on are either the NOAA 14 or the Cornell numbers. I'm not sure which off the top of my head, but it is in the stormwater report. It's not the old TP40 data, in case anybody's wondering. The one point we did not reduce the rate or volume is right here, right next to that red dot. It's a 2-year storm. We actually increased that by 1/100th of a CFS and about 0.05 cubic feet of volume, which is right around 2,000 cubic feet. As far as the 1/100th, I'd question if the computer modeling is even that accurate. And then I can show you where that is. But as you can see on the 10 and the 100, it went right back down to where we needed to be. Water quality treatment for this project. Again, just a few bullet points on here. There is a very, very thick stormwater management report that was submitted with this overall application. We exceed the 80% TSS removal for water quality. Depending on which treatment train you're looking at, we're anywhere between 84 and 97% removal. There's 4 different treatment trains that are discussed within that report for different areas of the site. We do provide pre-treatment for all runoff that's going into the infiltration systems. This site is categorized as what's known as a LUPL, land use with higher pollution potential, and because it is a distribution facility. So we do pre-treat the stormwater before we enter those infiltration systems, really for 2 reasons. 1, to hit that regulation, but 2, anytime you're dealing with underground stormwater systems, we think it's important to try to remove as much of the sediment ahead of that as possible. It really decreases the amount of maintenance that has to be done long-term on those things. All flows from these truck areas do enter proprietary separators upstream of the infiltration systems, as I mentioned. That way we can add valves to them. Just in case there is any kind of spill, whether it's oil from the truck, diesel, whatever may happen on those trucks, somebody can run over, shut that valve off, and we can really isolate that portion of the system out from the rest of the stormwater and prevent anything from getting into the infiltration systems, therefore into the groundwater. And then the recharge, mentioned this a couple of times, tremendous opportunities on this site. The required recharge for a site like this, given the amount of area that we're using, would be about 2.4 acre-feet of water. We actually have over 20 acre-feet of recharge capacity in those systems, as well as the surface pond that you can see on the site plan. Utility plan, probably not all that interesting, so I'm going to skip by that. So just when we thought we understood what was going on, and we got an email from Mass DEP that I've never gotten an email like this from them before. I've gotten emails where they give me the number, so that we do have a file number. It's right on there. It's 143-1042. I noticed that wasn't on your agenda. But they came back and they said this project should be filed as a limited project for roadway and driveway crossings in a riverfront area. I spoke to the other principal in our firm. The 2 of us kind of laughed and chuckled at that. He advised me to take this, print it, frame it, because we're never going to see it again. So, even though that's what they want us to do, and we followed up with a letter back to them, this is really all we had to change to make it a limited project. Under 7B, we checked the 1 box instead of the 2 box, the yes box instead of the no box, which we originally had. So that's really the only change we made. We're not going to change our design. We think it was a pretty good design to start with. We were at 6.4% disturbance in the riverfront area. So we were below the threshold anyway. So my guess is what they did is they actually must have read our alternatives analysis, realized that Gilboa Street entrance was really the only way to do this. Even though we actually did have access out to Northeast Main Street, it was not good to go out there with trucks because it causes some other crossings that would have to be widened. When we do cross the river, how do we do that? And how do we try to make some of the impacts either not happen or calm down? What we did is when we started designing this, we have a separate bridge designer working on this for us. That's all he does is bridge work. And he really wanted to go with a concrete abutment and steel beams across. So we took the location of the riverfront, or the riverbank flagging that we had located, which is right down through here. And we asked him to put the abutments back behind that. So that's this gray area here is where he's got the abutments. So he managed to be able to do that, got the abutments in there, that wasn't a problem. Then we started working on how do we actually go ahead and build that without causing some issues. You can see the embankments. It's not super steep in here, but it is somewhere around 4 to 1, 5 to 1. So it's not, we're not exactly working on flat ground. Our geotech engineer actually came up with the idea of why don't we put some sheet piles in there and leave those sheet piles sticking up a few feet above ground, probably 3 or 4 feet above ground, about up here, and then work behind those. Now what you've done is not only have you stabilized that bank, so even if you've got that exposed, a lot of rain comes down through, it's going to hit that sheet pile. It's not going to erode down into the river. But you've got a good working platform, and you've got a good demarcation of where you don't want people beyond. You've got a 3 or 4 foot high piece of steel sticking up. They'll know where to not go. We get the abutments put in. They're actually supported on micropiles. They'll be pinned to the bedrock. Get the abutments poured, ready to go. Then we just come in and we torch off the top of those steel sheets. Leave those sticking up, still a little bit above ground, but those will stay underground forever. A couple of reasons for that. One, it would actually cause a lot of disturbance. If you've ever seen sheet piles get pulled out of the ground, a lot of soil comes with it. We think it's better just to leave them in. The other good reason for that is in the event of a catastrophic storm, and I'll show you a cross-section of this in a minute, and you'll see we're also above and outside of the 100-year flow. But if you get a catastrophic event, if you get a lot of ice jams, you get a lot of issues like that, this will also act as some additional scour protection in front of those abutments. In the middle of this slide, I just basically gave the big picture overview steps of how do you build it. Again, install the sheet piles on both sides, install your micro piles behind that, warm and pour the abutments, cut the sheet piles down, install the steel girders. We do have utilities being hung from that bridge, and install the deck surface. All that fun stuff. This is one of the cross sections, and this goes right up the center line of that bridge. It's not on any particular side, but right up the center line. In blue, I've highlighted the various flood elevations that we've taken right out of the FEMA flood study for the Mumford River in this particular location. On the two sides, this red dashed line here, that's where those sheet piles would be located. And then these are the flaggings. This is the flagging that we did, that you folks looked at. And then there's another series of flaggings that was done. I think it was probably done for the water and sewer project. I'm not sure exactly who did that flagging, but it differs in elevation than ours. So usually when we see riverbank flagging, the definition of a riverbank is either your first break in topo or your mean annual high water, whichever is lower. I admittedly did the riverbank flagging on the right side of this screen a little bit lazy. I did the first break in topo, conceding the fact that if the mean annual high water was actually lower, then that's fine. We'll just go with that first break.
Theirs was higher?
Theirs came out higher. So I drew this thin dash line here. So you go across the bottom of the river, and you can see you go up the bank to get to theirs right there. So it's fine. It's a bit of a discrepancy that we noted on the plans. If you look carefully at the plans, you'll see that it kind of meanders up through.
Okay.
We stayed behind it anyway.
Okay.
All
right, that's good.
The next item we needed to talk to you folks about, again, was the floodplain. So this blue area here is where we're actually encroaching on the 100-year floodplain. This orange area is where we're proposing some compensatory storage. Just like with the, being under the requirements for the riverfront, we're actually over the requirements on compensatory storage. We impact about 8,000 square feet. We're providing just under 10,000 square feet. And from a volume perspective, when we did it on a foot per foot basis, 31 or just about 3,200 cubic feet would be impacted, would be filled. We got about 5,800 cubic feet that we're creating outside of the existing floodplain, but still connected. So about 180% of the volume we're placing in there. And then just discussing interests of the wetlands, of the Wetland Protection Act, but that's probably more for when you're ready to start talking about an order of conditions, which you're probably not there tonight.
Are you anticipating any additional comments from DEP?
I'm anticipating no additional comments from DEP. We are, well, as you're aware, we are under peer review.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting to see what comes back on that.
Okay. So DEP was pretty much in agreement with the compensatory storage and with the bridge construction, and so.
Like I said, I think they must have read the alternatives analysis, which I'm glad they did, because more often than not, it seems like they don't.
They're being very thorough these last couple of years. Very thorough. So one sentence is pretty impressive.
If I've got
I haven't seen that. I was like, who reviewed that?
If I've got to put together 6 or 8 inches worth of paperwork and send it off to them, then I'm glad they're reading it.
Yep. Okay, so. Okay.
That's my quick one.
Looks good? Looks good? Mark?
Just a couple questions. Water table. You noted that there's a 30-foot cut on the upper side and 30-foot fill. Where did you locate water table on the site?
We never found water table up on this end. We found water table about 3 feet below grade right down here. The closest we got to water table, closest to our, relative to our finished floor, we do have a couple of borings right in this location, where my dot is, where it's fairly close to the finished floor.
It's close to finished floor, so.
Yeah, but we've got a slight fill in that spot too.
Okay. I'm just concerned about you cutting 30 feet and all that water being contributing to the infiltration basins, because you'll have to drain that water.
Yeah, on this end up here where we're doing the cut, I don't think we have any water issues. I can review the boring logs to make sure. It was mostly down in this area that we were concerned, but then when we saw how much we had to fill.
And so the infiltration basins, are they above water table?
They are well above the water table.
Well above. And are they in native soil or are they in fill?
They'll be in fill.
So how do you control the fill that goes around those infiltration and under those infiltration areas?
It's based on the material spec that we require the contractor to put in. So we're not allowing them to use common fill, any common borrow or anything like that in there. It has to be a granular fill. As you get underneath these truck aprons where it's concrete, and definitely underneath the building, we'll use what's called a structural fill, which basically is granular material, limits the fines to I believe 5% on a 200 sieve or less. So it's a very bony, gravelly material.
But you'll also be utilizing the cut material.
Correct.
So.
Which, if you're familiar with this site, it's
sand.
It probably will be.
You never know, they might have taken most of the good off the top.
I don't think there.
Well, that's kind of why we have to put a spec in our spec books about that. I've actually done projects like this where you dig down and all of a sudden, surprise, look at all the stumps. I don't think that's the case here.
I don't think so either.
No,
all the infiltration, was it on the lower side, on the south?
No, let me go back to that grading plan for you. So we have some large tanks here along through this area. We also have a small system over here. Another, I'd say, medium-sized system there. And then up here, this is actually a pond basin, open to the air. So we have different types, different locations.
All look towards the...
all towards that end.
Western side or that side.
Yeah, it's a deceiving site when you go out there. I don't think, and I know I didn't pick up on this the first time that I looked at it. It's a large site, and there's a lot more topography across the floor of that pit than you realize. So
there is.
It's interesting. But that's exactly why all that stormwater is on that end of the project.
Right, and I'm thinking, just out loud, that, I'd like to see some infiltration on the upper side so that you're spreading out where the water gets into the water table underneath, instead of it all just going down to the low end. And then when it gets infiltrated, it just goes to the river and it's gone. So that's kind of, but I understand there's difficulties in doing that because of the topo and elevation.
Let me take a look at some of the borings. And it would certainly It would also cut down on some of these pipe runs if I could put some shower systems up in here. It's certainly something I'm happy to take a look at. And if the borings come out looking like we've got some good soil, the problem with that is when you get into cuts that deep, you start to get a little iffy on the soil and on, just what you're running into. And so if he's running into clay lenses and things like that down deep, I'm not sure we can do it. But if he's still hitting some of the bony material, but absolutely.
This is a public hearing. Anyone in the audience have any questions or concerns regarding this public hearing? I'm not seeing any hands. So thank you for the presentation. That was very concise. I appreciate that.
Didn't sound like you wanted me to drone on for an hour tonight.
Do I ever sound like that? So board, if we don't have any further questions, we'll just wait for the peer review and continue to April 4th.
Sounds good to me.
At 7 p.m.
I appreciate that.
April 4th, 2022, 7 p.m. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion made by Mark. Second by Eric. All those in favor?
Eric Harris, aye.
Mark Mungem, aye.
Tracy Sharkey, aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Oh, I see a big plan over there. Do you have like a 11 by 17, smaller size?
And guys, are you just
You submitted.
Monday night?
Oh, you did?
It was already here, so I figured I'd watch for this.
Okay, all right. Do you have anything, Miss?
I'm Becky Callagher, I'm on the agenda.
Okay, all right. What do we have? Okay, the proposed Bay State Trail location. My apologies. Come on to the table if you'd like.
Actually, my biggest thing is I wanted to, Steve said I needed to come to this meeting to set up an appointment with somebody or how many of you would want to do something with me out there so I could get some further information.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we have that email in our packet.
I've poured over it already.
Okay. Did you have any comments, Mark?
Suggested that while we're doing all the on culvert, I would like to have some of the real board suggested to watch it with me and give me any further input that I needed before I pull all this information to the engineer.
Okay, okay. Did you engage with an engineer yet?
We did a site walk.
Okay, all right, so you hired someone?
Haven't signed the dotted line yet.
Okay, okay, all right, but you're planning to do a full notice of intent filing?
Yes.
Okay, okay. I appreciate you waiting.
I'm happy to volunteer to take a walk around.
Okay. And then we'll get the other two board members also would probably be inclined to walk. So if we could have maybe 2 dates set to review everything, and then you'll probably won't be ready until maybe the 25th if you haven't started the plan. Yeah, so those sensitive areas, yeah. Yeah, and if you wanted to also invite the engineer out too, so then it could kind of be maybe one and done. Yeah, DEP is a little bit delayed, but I think, yeah, no, I appreciate you coming in. My apologies, I didn't realize you were here for that. I could have, you should have gone like this. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Have you discussed connecting the trail with the school? The trails that are on the school property, have you discussed that with them?
We've had some discussion through the open space of making the connector trail, but that's been, with everything else that's going on, it's just kind of went by the back burner, so this just came up in the meantime, so look how we can make the connection, so.
The green to the purple?
Yeah, but I mean, the school uses it for a cross-country trail for athletics events, so are they on board with, you connecting to their trail that they maintain for a school purpose.
Use the whole trail
No.
system back there for the
No, understood.
course.
So would it be for equestrian use, the trail?
It would be for hiking, question, non-motorized use.
So are you talking about the green to the purple location? The green,
Look.
The green lines are the existing trails out there.
Yes, the green is the existing
Okay,
trail.
and then the connection would be,
Right.
Connection would be the red.
Right, and the inside loop of that green that goes from the driveway
okay, yeah.
and then to the black dot at the back of the high school, and that is the cross-country trail.
Okay.
It's a 1.5-mile loop that they run twice for their
Oh.
cross-country events.
Oh,
So it's a well-used trail, but not conducive to motor vehicles, horses, probably.
okay, okay. Where would you propose the connection?
I mean, I think it's great. I'm just playing the devil's advocate here and
Okay.
making sure that people are aware of that.
I had the same comment when I walked it with them, Mark.
Right.
Nice piece of land.
Yeah, it's great. It's awesome.
Yeah, there's a couple of sensitive areas that it would be good for the commission to go out there and look at.
Okay, Steve, could we coordinate, especially with Art and Katie Grace, to do
Yeah,
the
you
walk?
want Saturday, I mean, just throw out a couple Saturdays there
Yeah.
in an email.
Yeah.
See if that would.
Yeah, Saturday morning, 9 o'clock,
I'm good.
is usually what Art does. Yeah,
Yeah, so my contact information's on the cover page.
got it. Yeah,
Great.
thank you so much, Becky. Appreciate you sitting through the meetings. Now you're up to date on all the projects in town.
Yes, I am. Not a bad thing,
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you too.
So board, I think that's it. There was a question about meeting minutes. So we still want to continue with our minute taker, correct? We don't want to take on doing the minutes as a board. Okay. So I mean, Art and Mike typically are reviewing a lot of the stuff, but I think she's doing a great job being concise with our meetings.
Yep.
Right?
Yep, I'm good with it.
Okay. All right. And anything else, Preston?
I know we talked about, I think Steve put it on the next agenda, the update on that cleanup that I was proposing.
Yes. Yep.
I've talked with Alyssa from the Douglas Beautification Committee. And so I'm gonna be working with her, and we're gonna kind of co-sponsor the Douglas Conservation Commission.
Okay.
She already has a plan, so I'm just gonna help her out and come up with flyers and stuff.
Okay. All right. Cool. So are you gonna come up with a flyer for your next meeting? You think?
Yeah, she already has one, and I was helping her actually today, so it should be all set.
Okay, perfect. Great. And I know Katie Grace had a couple preferred timeframes for cleanup, so. All right, awesome. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Mike,
Second.
seconded by Eric. All those in favor?
Eric Harris, aye.
Correct, why?
Mark Mungemai.
Tracy Sharkey, aye. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy.